Welcome to On the Chain. We've got a big show going on tonight. Ripple, XRP, big news, huge news, massive growth, crypto, the last stand for financial independence. Let's go.
Let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Welcome back. What is up, man?
There's so much going on, Jeff, and it's good to be back here. You did an amazing job at that interview last night. It was very entertaining to watch as a spectator. Man, it was a really engaging interview and it was really well done. We got so much to jump into today. This is one of those nights where we have so much cool stuff to talk about. I mean, like, where do we start it all? Where does it start? I tell you what.
Kick it right into the video, man.
Let's go right
into the video news.
You want to go right into the video? So yeah, I mean, there's so much positive stuff coming out with Ripple and XRP. Yeah, the market. Everyone's like, oh, but the market. Yeah, so what? I mean, life goes on. And Garlinghouse was on CNBC tonight or this morning actually.
21 edition of the Disruptor 50. These are private companies on the cutting edge of technological change. Right now, we've got an interview with the head of the company that's coming in at number 38 on this year's list, Ripple. The company
38.
Number 38 of the disruptors. They made the list again, and this is fantastic. Good. It's fantastic, and let's see what Garlinghouse has to say here.
It uses blockchain to send money across borders for financial institutions, and it uses the token XRP to do it. Join us now, Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple. Brad, great to see you. Great to have you on today. Let's start just generally about the crypto arena and what we've seen, because there's an article today, Brad, about, I guess it's hearkening back to the colonial situation, pipeline and ransomware, et cetera. And
Jeff, I'll be honest, when he said colonial, I was like, how far are we going back here? It's like we're going back to colonial times. I was like, what?
All I can think about is the colonial pipeline.
Yeah, there you go, colonial pipeline.
The thrust is that we just need to ban crypto. And it's set forth, here's all the reasons. I think about everything that you've set up with blockchain and DeFi and how this can really effectively replace a lot of existing systems like Swift or whatever, and it really works well. Do you think that, I mean, what do you make of someone that makes that case, given all the blockchain infrastructure and everything else, not just around Bitcoin, but do you think that this toothpaste ever goes back in the tube like that because you can use it for ransomware?
Not sure I've heard the toothpaste analogy before. I'm going to steal that one myself. Look, first of all, thank you for having me.
Toothpaste analogy.
By the way, Jeff, you ever try to put toothpaste back in? It never goes back in.
It never goes back in, and you get that one squeeze, and it starts pouring out, and you're like, how do I stop it?
Can't put it back in. You end up.
I have tried. I have tried to refill when I can't find my specific toothpaste that I like to use in the travel tubes.
Yeah.
Then I'll try to refill those. And I'm sitting there trying to squeeze the toothpaste, and you kind of get it as like a technique. But I've never heard of the. That's interesting though.
Look at this. You can't read it, but it says Serjan says which Bitcoin company made it on the list. I'm gonna go with none.
Bitcoin
be my best guess. I was listening to
Bitcoin. The question you're asking is a really important one, and I think it gets to the kind of
about the toothpaste. No, that's not the question.
That's right. Oh yeah.
Sometimes just a misunderstanding about how these technologies can be applied in a way that actually is really good for businesses, for citizens, for just the community at large. And so when we talk about, like, should we ban something, let's make sure we understand what we're talking about. The way Ripple uses these technologies, as you introduced, is we can make cross-border payments, which are slow and expensive today. We can make them real-time, very efficient, very low cost. And that's good for the global economy. We can unlock trillions of dollars of kind of trapped capital to make the economy more efficient. And so blockchain technologies can be applied in a lot of really constructive ways. That's reducing friction, whether that be transaction cost, transaction speed. But again, for Ripple, that's around payments. But I think to say, hey, let's just ban all this. Yes, the toothpaste might already be out, and I don't know how you get it back in.
Ban them all. Ban it. Ban it. Just like over Iran, over in Iran, they figured it out. They banned it. They said, summer's here, energy's at a premium. Before, yesterday they came out and said that we're going to start torquing the amount of electricity Bitcoin mining outfits get. Today they came out and said, that's it, no more Bitcoin mining. And I think it's a very small percentage that actually are licensed in Iran, and all the rest aren't licensed. So I'm sure they're going to run around and try to find them. But to that point, man, it's interesting
well,
stuff.
there was one other. So Ripple customer Flutterware, they are helping bring. They're basically helping in Africa. So they are helping African businesses soar. And they also mentioned in this article too, Robinhood is also on that list. But I guess Robinhood is one of those big companies out there. So other big news, Jeff. So we got another Ripple partner here delivering real-time payments from Oman to India. That's
nice.
Think about how big that is.
That's massive. It's massive. I mean, it's and the reason you get into the UAE, get into Oman, you get into some of those areas, you have a lot of workers that come from India that go to that area. But at the same time, there's a lot of trade going on as well. It's massive.
Yeah, and you get to, and so I look at this kind of stuff, and it's like, in light of all the things that have happened, they really haven't slowed down. It seemed like they're just full steam ahead. Ripple's completely on fire. XRP making gains again. Everyone was wishing, can it just dip down to 11 cents again, please? Just for like 10 minutes so I can buy a giant bag, or 20 cents. I believe those days are probably gone forever, and, there was a lot of great buys out there. Matic shot right back up. Matic came down low, then they shot back up. So Dofar, already a partner of Ripple Labs, will use RippleNet for mobile payments between Oman and India, with specific focus on, like you said, Jeff, remittances from immigrants living in the Sultanate, according to the reports from the official website of Ripple. So, I mean, and Ripple put up a nice little blog post here themselves. They put up this little puppy right here. Let me show you. They put up something, and they're kind of talking about it a little bit. And, they're making a pretty good statement here. The use of mobile banking across the world has really just blown sky high. And really, the pandemic sort of accelerated everything. And this is why they say that their partnership with Oman's second largest bank, Bank Dofar, comes at such an exciting time. It's another proof point of Ripple's vision of the Internet of Value. And it's like, instead of talking about toothpaste in tubes and everything else, people miss the Internet of Value. That's really what Ripple sort of like, pioneered that statement. And the idea is you can enable the world to move money like it basically moves across the internet, right? And it was interesting that on that CNBC interview that the host did mention SWIFT. And it is funny that SWIFT is controlled by the US government to shut out bad actors. And it is interesting that in the Gensler hearing today, Gensler had made a specific statement about, well, Jeff, I mean, he's like, there's so many bad actors out there and we've only gone after 75 of them. What?
75 out of the thousands. And you say there were thousands.
Yeah.
And they've got to 75. There's a few things that he said in that whole situation that were a little bit troubling. That was definitely one of them. He's looking at it like a good guy, bad guy thing. And he keeps using this terminology that you need enforcement and you need a cop on the beat. And the first thing that you have to look at is that there's already laws on the book. And he was singling out some of the exchanges, that the exchanges don't have the same rules and regulations as a stock exchange. One of the things that he brought up was if you put your order in, it's in the order book at a certain price point, that normally, you have to start booking them as they come in. You can't pick and choose who you're going to book. At a stock exchange, there's certain rules with that, according to what he's saying. And so with a crypto exchange, there isn't. So what he's insinuating is that there's, unfair dealings going on in the crypto exchange, which is it, are there people that are moving this stuff around, or is it all digitized through the blockchain? Is there, some sort of a misunderstanding going on at the exchange? Are there people, passing paper and notes and deciding in those split seconds when things are being bought and sold? Is there someone that's actually orchestrating all of that? But why are they looking at this like a good guy, bad guy thing? And why isn't he looking at this as a critical economic asset class or critical to the financial well-being of the United States. He's not looking at it like that at all. And it's a little bit troubling when you hear that kind of tone and you know, words being used.
Well, I used the word earlier today and I called him a government lackey because that's really what he is. He's another government stooge that goes in there and pushes the buttons and says all the right things. And he says a lot of words and says nothing, right? Because the one congressman had asked him the question, he kind of sidestepped it and he started like a typical politician, started getting into and sidestepping the question. You're right. You know, one of the things that came up in the Garlinghouse interview today is he basically talked about the misunderstanding of how technology can be applied. He was saying, like, in the United States, we have this lack of regulatory clarity. And then you have these other countries like the G20 markets. And so they actually invested their time, their energy, their bandwidth through either like legislation or rulemaking to provide clarity and certainty, right? G20 block, they're actually bringing it. And meanwhile, the US is spinning in circles. We're basically circling the drain. Then you have Gensler, and he's like, well, you know, I only had this job, you know, about 2 months. And who cares, dude? I don't care if you've been there for 20 minutes. You knew you were going in. They kept putting off your confirmation hearing. It sounds like a lot of excuses to me, Jeff. And again, he basically, you know, Garlinghouse also talked about the fact that, you know, we need investors to participate. We need entrepreneurs to build. We need builders in the space. And guess what? You know where they're going to be building it? In Dubai, because that seems like where we're headed right now. I kind of know that's not true, but I'm just saying, Gensler, what a massive disappointment. He had a chance to go in there, Jeff, and really like make his mark, stamp some stuff, say, hey, come on, step to the side. I'm here. And I almost hate that he's known for cryptocurrency. He taught a course at MIT. Well, that's working out well.
And that's a bad spin also. You know, just because, again, somebody taught something, that doesn't mean that he understands the other dynamic, which is the critical element. I don't want to say doesn't understand, but the critical element that it's bringing to the people. You know, he might know it, he might recognize it, but maybe it's too far beneath them. You know, we know that, you know, a lot of people that are tech minded, they get lost in the tech of everything. They forget about the human element. And I find that just because he's MIT, understands the blockchain, he understands the technology, doesn't mean that he's identifying whatsoever with the human element or the business element of it. I know, you know, he's at the CFTC. They put him in charge of the SEC. But, you know, at the same point, it just doesn't, it always seems like there's something a little bit off, you know, especially
Right.
you put a government official in there. You know, it's I see, you know, some of the things that he says, I'm like, okay, hey, you know what? I get it. You know, the guy's actually making a little bit of sense, and then he doesn't. So,
Well,
yeah.
but again, it sounds like, you know, you toe the line, right? So you just,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, you know, you're not going to get this riveting questions. You're going to get some really underground stuff. And almost every question that was asked of him, he phoned it in. It's like, yeah, you know, pressed all the great government buttons. We're here to enforce. We're here to regulate. Hop on the beat. You know, he's like a mannequin. He's like, don't step away from the script. Keep everything on. Don't give an opinion. Don't say anything controversial. You know what, Jeff? That's just pretty boring. I'll be honest with you. All that stuff's boring. Let's get to something interesting. Towo Labs. Check this out. He's like,
Doc says he's worth like 120 million or something. He doesn't care about the average American.
oh, that too. Yeah. And he probably has a ton invested in Bitcoin. He's going to pretend like I'm a big government official. And so
Yeah.
Towo Labs said, hey, say hello to Bifrost Wallet launching in June, July.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting because what else is launching in June and July? It sounds to me like Flare. And what's cool about this wallet is you're going to have features like Spark delegation for Flare networks. Also will be DeFi browser for decentralized apps from Flare Finance. Dude, I'm super excited about this wallet because I love Towo Labs. I think they're really phenomenal developers. They really, whatever they touch is right. They're really good. In a weird way, they sort of remind me of, I wouldn't say like an Apple, but as a development house, they really put together some really fine products. And I like the fact that you'll also have access to RI, which is the stable coin, which is going to come out from Trustline. So look at what they built: a wallet where you'll be able to delegate your Flare token. You'll be able to use the DeFi browser for decentralized apps, and you'll be able to manage, which the RI is the first stablecoin built around the XRP ledger on Trustline, and manage NFTs from Go Gala Games. And this is kind of what it looks like. It just looks beautiful, right? So coming soon, 59 days, 19 hours, whatever. They have that on their website. But what do you think about them rolling something like this out? It's right on point, right?
Very much so. Yeah.
I mean
it's perfect timing.
Yeah, and it kind of ticks all of the boxes along the way.
Yep.
And I thought, it's so nice to get some really, because we're coming to go time. You're like, well, how do you delegate your Spark token? What if when it gets dropped, what do I do? Well, you'll have a lot of the stuff available native in this wallet, which will make stuff really easy. So you move over your, you can move over your crypto from there, and you can kind of, hit it from that end. So
it's good stuff.
Wow, Jeff. I mean, holy cow. And another thing, well, there's another David Schwartzy tweet here. I'm trying to find it, man. Let's see, where's the Schwartzer? Yeah, so Schwartz put this tweet out right here. Basically, Ripple X talked about tokenization will be a key pillar for developers working to enable the Internet of Value. There we go again, building upon the existing standards. We're excited to contribute our proposal for enhanced NFT support to the XRP ledger. And then Joel Katz, better known as David Schwartz, said, building on the standards proposed by the XRP labs and used by devs today, I propose functionality that would provide added support for NFTs. And then, of course, somewhere along the lines here, I don't know which one story it is here.
That's a big deal. Obviously it hasn't happened yet, needs to be voted on, but I think it's a big deal, to actually expand the XRP ledger. And really, if you look at, I keep going back to, and the other day, I was referencing back to these projects that have, not just specific utility, but that are, changing things and we talk about this all the time, and I brought it up yesterday with Abhay, but you either have a project that's a solution looking for a problem, or you have a solution solving problems. And the XRP ledger is one of those game-changing initiatives, game-changing technologies that keeps growing, that is really the foundation, for so much of what can happen. We're just seeing the beginnings, and then that's where, you start looking at, some of these assets, and you start questioning, where the future is going to be, which ones are going to be around, which ones aren't. Similar to why, Polygon or Matic keeps scaling up, because it's being implemented and utilized, and we're just seeing the beginning stages of it.
No, you just took the words right out of my mouth. So funny how we think alike. I was just going to say, Matic, if you want to look at the bellwether, if you want to see what's coming and how it's going to go, take a look at Matic. Matic's solving a problem with the high gas fees. People going, I don't really like those high gas fees. So you have OpenSea and all these NFT platforms built around Ethereum. And I keep hearing, I know they're moving to 2.0 and it's going to be great and sustainable and all that stuff. That's fantastic. But in the interim, you got a company like Matic that's making bold moves, and people are moving and flocking there because they don't want to have to deal with that. Any way you can avoid paying these high gas fees is going to be fantastic. And when you go ahead and take that and move that to the XRP ledger, and you start building NFTs and supporting all this stuff, you're going to see a drove. All of a sudden, it's going to get very exciting for a lot of people in crypto to start coming over there. And the moment they allow you to take your Bitcoin and go over there and create an F asset out of that, game on.
Yeah. Hey, so FC.
FC, right.
FC. If institutions use a private XRP ledger, would that be separate from the XRP I own, and so wouldn't affect its price? If they're building on a private ledger, imagine a CBDC was built on a private ledger, similar to was it Estonia or one of those, Ukraine or somewhere, they were building on a private version of Stellar, right?
Yeah, it's not going to, I mean,
XLM.
It's the same digital asset. I mean, the only thing that's not public is the ledger, right? So you can't have a bank that has private customers and privacy is an issue, you can't have them having everything on the open blockchain. That's what we learned from when Saudi Arabia was talking with Ripple. They love it, but they're like, look, man, we can't have some really high level, high entity like people have a lot of wealth. We can't. It's none of your business where they move their money, what they do with the money, right? So private blockchain, but still uses the same XRPL and still uses just the ledger's private, not the. It's not going to affect. If anything, a lot's going to be moved through that as well, because Jeff, I think you brought this up, the fact that if you're going to mint a CBDC, well, what are you going to do with it? It's worthless if you don't have the interoperability, right? You have to be able to do something with that, and if you're going to send it, and it's going somewhere. I mean, it's cool that it stays in your country, but at some point, it's got to transfer to some other thing, another something, another sort of a digital asset or a fiat currency, something, and that's where that's going to be coming big. But it's a really good question.
I think so. Jeff? Yeah, I mean, I look at the CBDCs, and CBDCs are basically just a digitized form of fiat. If they're centralized and all the other things that go with it. And there have been a number of great articles specifically to that point, that you have the CBDC, doesn't change anything because you're basically just getting rid of the paper. All the other issues still exist. And the biggest problem is still the movement. How are you moving and transacting your CBDC, without having all of the same accounting principles that we have today? You still have to have some sort of Nostro or Vostro account. Those, all the same types of dynamics would potentially have to still exist. But if you have the rails, if you have the ledger, if you have RippleNet, if you have that in between, it then connects. So that's, hey, you want to build a CBDC, that's awesome. You're going to be in a silo, but you're still going to need something like RippleNet and XRP with the ODL to be able to transact it. I just wanted to give another quick shout out to XRP Panic. I've seen he asked a couple times. He was saying, nice watch. I'll give you one hint. You can try to figure it out. Made in Detroit. There you go.
Interesting.
I've got a number of them. They're great.
I don't even know what that is.
Detroit. Go on. Watches made in Detroit. You got to love it.
I have a weird sort of a thing. Like, my brother's a watch guy, and he has more watches than God. I mean, he can tell you everything about it, the years of this or that. And you know what? I don't wear a watch. I stopped wearing a watch. And again, Jeff, I tell this story. It's like, there was probably a time that made a lot of sense to own a horse. But then when the vehicle came along, yeah, I could ride a horse, but I find it way more efficient. And if I have the atomic time in my pocket, I don't have any use for it. My brother's like, but it's a piece of jewelry. It's a timepiece. It's this. I'm like, I don't care, man. When I want to know the time, I click this baby. I have atomic time. It doesn't stop. I don't wind it.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, the watch, I rarely will look at it. Well, sometimes I'll look at it for the time, but it's part of, it just kind of fits. You get the watch, the way it looks, just everything. Similar to, I don't wear a wedding ring typically, but when I do, then, the watch and, you're kind of going out dressed up or whatever.
That's weird, Jeff. How did you get away with that? That didn't work out so well for me, man.
What's that?
I was going to get a tattoo because I have to wear this. I'm like, I'm not a jewelry guy either. I don't wear any jewelry. I don't wear any, I have nothing. I'm not a jewelry guy. It's like, but I do wear this,
Yeah. So you get the watch, the thing, whatever. I used to have an earring too.
I did too. I had two.
All platinum. It was straight. Everything I wore was platinum.
I used to have that too, Jeff. Look at that.
Nice.
Well, one time I was, when I was in college, I thought it would be a good idea to dress up as a pirate. So I borrowed from one of my friends these giant rings. She had these giant rings, So I went to the mall and they like pierced them. And I'm like, when can I take these out? They had those little guns. Like, I don't know how they do it now. And then the other time I pierced them myself. I just put a nail through there or something, or, just shoved it through, whatever. And she's like, well, it's like you should wait 4 to 6 weeks and put a local alcohol on it. And I thought, like, well, I'm going to a party. By the way, this was in Pittsburgh, and it was on the Monongahela River, and it was like some contest I won. It was like some Halloween party. It was on the ship, and I dressed as like a pirate. And I put these. I took those temporary ones and flung them somewhere, and I put the rings in there. And I got to tell you, sometimes you should listen to how some advice of people. I woke up the next day in the morning, the rings were still in there. My ears were all bloody, and those rings were cemented in my. I was like pulling them. It was like it was just a mess, Jeff. I don't know. I was off on a side tangent, but I got to tell you, man, listen to the professionals. These, you know what they're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. So nice sidetrack.
I like to get sidetracked once in a while, Jeff.
So
That's
anyhow,
something.
where were we? I mean, there's where do we go? Where do we go? What's next?
I think we go to
What about, do you want to play the Gensler thing?
you want to throw that up? I don't know. I think that's like a towards the end type of a thing.
Yeah, kind of a
Um,
downer.
yeah, that's what I think about. It's a downer. I mean, I got to be honest with you. I'm just incredibly 100% disappointed with him. I think what we should do is
Hey, wait, hey, just as you're looking through that, what do you think about Janet Yellen not showing up today?
wow, Jeff, that I mean, do we know if she's okay? Because that's just something you don't do. You're required by law to show up, and you're like, who needs it? It's the PPP stuff. I don't need to talk about. Jeff, the fact that she single-handedly angered both parties in this political environment, it's almost next to impossible to do. Where a government official will anger both parties equally, and they're both mad, and they're calling her to the mat. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of it's disrespectful in a lot of ways. I mean, it's just like you care that less. I mean, that's your job. You take a job, and it's like one of the important meetings you have to be, or you're a board member. You show up 4 times a year for a board meeting, and you're like, I don't need to go.
And just doesn't show up. But neither did the small business administrator. I don't think she showed up either, right?
What's going on with them? I mean, do they think that they didn't? I mean, that's their job. That's all. That's what they're required to do, is show up at these things.
It's crazy. And then Congresswoman Velazquez from New York, her statement here was, unfortunately, Treasury Secretary Yellen has declined to appear. Declined to appear before us in complete disregard for the law. So what do you do with somebody, Treasury Secretary? Now this Congresswoman's coming out, says in complete disregard for the law. So if you're disregarding the law, you're not breaking the law. And what is the penalty then for breaking the law? Then she continues and she says, while she and her team may believe their role in PPP and other small business COVID relief programs is dwindling as we move towards economic rebirth, they are sorely mistaken. And then you had, both sides of the aisle came out. This was a Democrat that was saying that, and I don't see any statements. I don't see anything else where Yellen has come out to kind of excuse the fact she doesn't show up. I don't know where these government officials, appointed, elected, or otherwise, when they don't show up per the requirement of the law, it amazes me, especially things that are this critical right now.
It's like negligent. It's like, it's like one of the bare responsibilities of your job. You really ought to be able to do it, and she couldn't get that done. It's disappointing on a lot of levels. But you know what? I mean, should we expect something different from her? I mean, really? I mean, should we expect that I don't know, that I don't know where we go from here. I mean, you have 2 people not showing up at required hearings. Here, let's throw this up. Well, no, I don't want to get into Gensler, because Gensler's I guess we can talk about this. Ripple faces SEC request for further discovery over XRP transactions.
I like that.
Let's throw this one up there. Let's talk about this one here. There we go. So this is over here. This is over on Forecast News. And so the fast facts, SEC seeking 6 additional depositions on record with 5 more custodies, including. So Jeff, what does that tell you? If they're requesting more depositions, what are they doing when they're requesting more depositions? I mean, it sounds to me like, are they fishing? Do they not have what they're looking for? And they haven't even conducted the first round of depositions, but now they want former Ripple Christian Gill, the co-founder of crypto trading firm liquidity provider GSR. I mean, for real, Jeff? They
Well, look
also
at
want
they want to extend they want to extend the deadline for discovery.
right.
So
Why?
past July 2nd.
They've had discovery going back. If you look at the tolling agreements, which suspended that 5 years, sort of the ability to go back more than 5 years. They went for 2 years. So I don't know. I'm kind of wondering, are they really looking for something? Are they wondering how they're going to prosecute this? Because to me, if you got a stone cold case, you're like, hey, we got these guys, and now they want more discovery. They want more. It just seems a little bit loose. Seems a little bit odd that they don't have exactly what they need. I thought they had this thing nailed. I mean, they brought the complaint in December. That we knew that they were trying to settle prior to that. They just have a weak case. I mean, they're just fishing at this point.
Yeah.
And then Tenero, he's like, Ripple should also be compelled to produce documents concerning its lobbying efforts. Now, why would they have to produce their lobbying efforts when every single day of every month of every year, Ripple's been the most transparent blockchain company, begging for regulatory clarity, so much so that they hired lobbyists to go ahead and lobby Congress, which failed miserably. But let's just say, hey, let's get some of this crypto, let's get the token taxonomy passed, right? Why would they do that, Jeff? Why would the judge want to know what their lobbying effort was when they're just lobbying to try to get clarity?
I think now they're just fishing, just like we've seen, for the past 4 or 5 years, we've seen a lot of fishing expeditions into political individuals. And here again, we're seeing more fishing expeditions. And that seems to be kind of the theme. It's this ongoing, developing narrative that you don't have the facts. You're going to say what you want to say, regardless of what the fallout is, regardless of what the collateral damage is. You're just going to keep down this track. But and at the same time, what are they supposed to do? So, and this all goes back to Clayton. Clayton, threw this out, put the case in front of, put the case out there, and is basically now, we're seeing the orchestration. To me, I think it was a brilliant move on his part, because he put pushing, Congress super slow to act. We've brought this up so many times. They just haven't come out and done what they're supposed to do with regulatory clarity. And in this scenario, I believe that the SEC now they're tripping all over themselves.
Yeah.
And again, people want to single Clayton out for being the bad guy. I honestly don't think he was. Not only was he not the bad guy, but as soon as he left, he gets hired in by a big crypto organization. What more to say? The guy said, hey, we need regulatory clarity. Here you go. You got to take care of this. See you guys. Good luck. Have fun. Let's see how the next guys handle it. And they're not handling it. They're handling it poorly. And once again, it just shows, the lack of preparation. It shows everybody's true colors, because Gensler's in a position now to where you said before he could be a hero, but he's not positioning himself as it is right now to be a hero. Janet Yellen is now revealed her true colors. No excuse, no reasoning, doesn't show up for a legally required meeting. And we're seeing the same orchestration across the board. And it's all telling, so that this is just one little, a microcosm of the bigger picture.
Yeah, it's hero or zero, and it's trending towards zero at this moment. I want to throw some comments up, some funny comments. They ain't found nothing in their discovery yet, so fishing. Gensler is another rat. After a long prison sentence, last thing you want to do is see Chip is the time. We've got the judge should throw it out. It's all been planned. So there's a lot of stuff. Very strange argument. Gensler says literally nothing in his MIT lectures, but it's all a show and he's a villain, right? Yeah, but I mean, to say that somebody has done something in the space, that's great. It's like, hey, you know what? It's like, I'm going to go teach something on crypto. Am I going to be hired in to run, I mean, the CFTC laying down the law. But to come out with the same tired stuff as like, you're like cop on the beat, we got to be enforcement, there were only 75 actions taken and there's thousands, and almost like apologizing for not shaking down more blockchain companies, what it sounded like to me.
However,
And
there was one thing that he said, and it was that Congress needs to act. And
right, he's right about that.
We need some action from Congress. And at the same time, he didn't expect to come into this equation. The conversations happened before Clayton left. Clayton leaves. Maybe he didn't have that full expectation of having to now be the head of, the representative of the SEC when this major lawsuit is going on. He figured maybe they can keep going after the small ones. But now he's in that position. Maybe he doesn't know, maybe he doesn't know. I don't know. I don't want to say he doesn't know, but just not prepared for it. What is he going to do? It's just like, at this point, you were bringing up Hester Pierce also. So she has a statement again of the SEC. They keep coming out with their personal statements, but the SEC can only do so much. They can't really enforce anything if it's not on the books, right?
Right. Well, I mean, they're going back to this like stuff. The bottom line is like it's very loose for them. So they knew, it took them 8.5 years for them to figure out it was unregistered security. They didn't know until they dropped the lawsuit in December. Well, none of us knew. Well, let's move on to some greener things. I wanted to talk a little bit about this Stefan Tomas here, this story here. And I'm pretty excited about this. And if you guys don't know who he is, there's another little feature on him. It says, complete idiot Bitcoin trader. This is not me. This is the headline. Stefan Tomas lost 200 million pounds because he forgot his password. It's like, did you try password? And guys, this is why, people, but imagine if he had left this on an exchange and his worst fear was that somebody hacked into it. Now imagine he goes to the exchange and he cashes out little by little by little, or he takes some money out, right? So that's the thing. It's like the downside to having a cold storage wallet is, Jeff, you could lose it all. You could be stupid. You could lose the password. And I don't think you ever forgive yourself. And I don't care. He's like, it was really simple slip and this and that and blah, blah, blah. 7,000 tokens on there, right? Which were
it's like actually the pizza guy, 10,000. I guess he had some more, but over a period of time, he sold, basically sold everything that he had, early on.
Yeah.
And he said he's completely comfortable with it. But here, how do we know he would still be in possession of 7,000 coins? But even if he sold at 20,000, it sold at 10,000, sold at 1,000, you'd be really far ahead.
Well, the thing is his particular cold storage wallet locked you out after 10 tries, right? So that was like so you couldn't get into hackers' hands and they could just keep running through the thing until eventually they crack it, right? So that's kind of one of the things. But anyway, I feel my heart goes out to him every time I hear this, and I love the guy, man. He says, today I'm excited to introduce my password. No, Rafiki. He says, with Rafiki, we hope to implement our most advanced interledger features with our partners and users have asked for. We want all this functionality to be available programmatically. Now, there's they put out a really nice blog post. It's like the Lion King thing, right? So he wrote this, authored this really cool blog post. He talks about all of these adoption, like Hacker Moon, List of Parts, CSS Tricks, all these people that adopted the Coil, streaming payments. And there's people that watch every day. Thank you for that. That watch our show, watch the stream, watch the replays. Thank you for watching with the Coil subscription, because every day we get a little bit of micropayments streamed to us, and we really, Jeff and I always appreciate that. But I wanted to go through, kind of cut through all this stuff. Talks about Interledger, but it's a general protocol for moving money, supporting all kinds of features, payments, subscriptions, blah, blah, blah. And I want to get into this. That's why it's time to embark on a new phase in the journey. We've proven the Interledger can work in practice with real money, compliant with payment rules and regulations. Now we need to unlock its full potential. And I think this is getting exciting, Jeff. So
I do too. I just want to announce that Tony Fisk has returned.
Thank you, Tony. I really appreciate that. And Tony Fisk also got his hoodie, which is also cool too, because he coined the phrase XRP. I can't be 100% sure, but I think it's magic. So this is kind of cool. I'm really excited. It says, with Rafiki, we hope to implement some of the most advanced interledger features that our partners and users have asked for, such as simple payments, so paying a specific amount, recurring payments, subscriptions, pay as you go. You could set up like a recurring payment, app-based payments, connecting apps to your interledger wallet, allowing them to make payments. So you could like put it on autopilot, set up a little bit of whatever you want in there, you know, some XRP, and allow it to do auto pays. And then advanced payments, including streaming payments, which they're doing now, and other sort of novel use cases. So they want all this to be available programmatically via API. So you hook up an API. Developers are going to go crazy with this. I think they're going to probably stretch it and build some really cool things that, you know, hopefully Jeff will be able to use, the community be able to use, the OTC family can take advantage of. And it's deployed by you need at least one wallet. A simple web monetization provider can be built by anyone. So they're kind of putting this power in devs' hands to be able to build some cool stuff.
Yeah, so it's interesting too, because they started with the Coil blog. So they're killing off the Coil blogs. Now, one of the first things that we said when they launched the Coil blogs is that model didn't make sense and it wasn't sustainable. It was short term. It had to go away at some point. There's more to what they were working on that was more of not even a beta test site. It was more of a sandbox for some of their projects in real time, though. So they could actually show real time streaming payments, but they admit at this point they don't have enough users to even make the streaming payments valuable, you know, to a level that would make sense. And so they have to kill it off, you know, but they did come up with a solution at that right.as for individuals that do have Coil blogs. And, you know, but I, again, you know, I think that if you look at things from a rational kind of perspective to say, here's my expectation, then when they, you know, kill it off like they did, you know, I'm not shocked, but I'm really, really happy to see what they're turning their time towards. And look at what spawned out of what they did with Coil. Yeah, and they had that in the article too. There were multiple, you know, projects that were spawned from that idea of bringing out Coil, and it's outstanding. It really is.
Yeah, and it's good. And, you know, it really it's the proof of concept. And, you know, they did have, I was part of their Coil Boost program. So because they didn't have enough users, because the streaming payments were really small. I mean, this channel does way better than my Coil blog ever did. And a lot of people, it was getting some people reading it, but I would write a blog post and the streaming payments weren't enough to carry it, right? So they would give out like these boosts. And I know that Sir John he was also a boosted person. And his boosts were way more than mine were. I know people in the community were getting pretty solid boosts, right? But again, you had to sort of incentivize people in the community to continue writing. And the streaming payments weren't enough. I mean, if you're like sitting there cranking out some work and putting 2, 3 hours, 4 hours into a blog post, and you get the equivalent of like 36 cents, like, you know, man, that's not a sustainable thing. And you got to be, but if you get a boost payment and it's a couple $100, it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. And if it's an XRP, you're like, that's cool too, because it just adds to my bag. So you're right, Jeff. They knew that they didn't have, like, I know Condé Nast too was testing it. A lot of websites, the idea of a paywall. I mean, how many times on crypto Twitter, someone posts something really cool and you're like, oh, that looks like really interesting to read. You click on it, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, but you hit the paywall. You can't look at this article anymore. You're like, see, if you had a $5 Coil subscription, you just bypass that and you start reading it. It's one of the things that, you know, would have been a very strong, good idea. But yeah, that's where that's at. What do you think about this story, Jeff? I want you to read the headline here and tell me what your thoughts are about this, because we've brought this up on a few shows.
Oh yeah, you know, PayPal letting their customers. Yeah, this is interesting. You know, right off the bat. So third-party wallet transfers. This was the major issue that Robinhood had. That you bought the crypto, you didn't actually own the crypto. You didn't own it because you didn't have the keys to the crypto. You couldn't move it. Any asset, digital asset, token, whatever, you know, that you're holding was basically just a representation of. So for them to do it, they understand exactly where the future is moving in. And so PayPal making the right decision.
It's a really good move, Jeff. And the fact is like, part of what happened when like even Doge took off, a lot of people were buying it on Robinhood. They couldn't cash it out. Now, if you had a way to move it off to a cold storage wallet or a different exchange, you could move it almost anywhere. And the problem is that you were sort of held hostage to whatever your provider was. In this case, it was Robinhood. So that's why, and a lot of people brought up in the community, the naysayers said, well, yeah, I guess it's great that PayPal and Robinhood are sort of offering cryptocurrency to be able to purchase it, but you don't really own it because if you don't, not your keys, not your crypto. Well, this is a move that they recognize right away. So you're not going to get into that scenario where you can move to any exchange, move it to a cold storage wallet. Now it's for the newbies, leave it on there, right? When you're ready to take it off or you want to cash it out, or you're not going to run into any sort of bottlenecks where you can't move it off there. I really applaud this move. It kind of took me by surprise that it's happening this fast, but they must have had an overwhelming sort of a user base that said, wait a minute, what do you mean I can't move it? So people were bailing on it, selling it, having to go rebuy it somewhere. Then by the time you do all that stuff, the price rises, you end up with less. So I applaud the move. I think I'm shocked by it, to be honest with you.
PayPal coin. Are they going to get in it? Are they going to launch a stable coin? I think so. But they have all the time in the world. They're not stressed because as soon as they launch a stable coin, or if they wanted to launch a for value coin, token, however they want to have it orchestrated within the system, they can do it and it will be monumentally successful. That's the one thing with these big, conglomerates like PayPal or any of the others. They have time to sit on the sidelines a little bit. We looked back in the beginning, like, where's PayPal with all this? But PayPal is watching the narrative unfold. They don't have to be first mover. They're already in the industry. They're massive, right? They come in and they say, hey, we're launching a coin tomorrow. That's it. It's going to go crazy. It's going to go ballistic.
Jeff,
they put out a stable thing.
Do you think that with PayPal, because it's not really their core business, but do you think that sort of expands like the opportunity, like it kind of creates more full featured for their existing user base? I mean, I don't know how many new people it attracts per se, but do you think it's more like an ad hoc, like, hey, by the way, yeah, if you're one of our customers, you can also do this, and maybe they don't have like big, because I don't know what their fees are, but maybe they're like better than the exchanges, so it kind of brings you over into the PayPal universe. I mean, do you think it's more something like that?
I think PayPal is looking at it just like Facebook is looking at it. They have a shit ton of users that are engaged every single month, and they're looking for a way to monetize them, to make a amount of profit that they've never seen before in the history of their company overnight. And so Facebook saw that with Diem, that they can fully take advantage of. And I don't believe that Facebook is the big engagement. I still think WhatsApp is the big play for Facebook with Diem. I think there's a lot more that they're planning that has nothing to do with social media. But as far as, implementing any type of transfer of currency, push it through WhatsApp, and you're going to have instant utility of it. Like overnight, you're going to see money moving. And I think, PayPal's the exact same way. They've already got a solid customer base. They introduce them to crypto, and that's it. And they're waiting for mainstream. They want Main Street to really come into play, so. But funny, what is this? So funny like a tree, saying PayPal plays politics, shut down accounts for speech they don't agree with, which is problematic. Not saying what they're doing right, wrong, or indifferent, but that's exactly right. They have been guilty of shutting down people's accounts because of speech they don't agree with, which is wrong.
No, and again, that's why the whole argument for decentralization, it's freedom. It's freedom economically, it's freedom, speech-wise, freedom everywhere. But let's talk about this important thing, Jeff. Apple's latest job posting suggests a new crypto aims. A new job listing indicates that Apple may finally, Jeff, be exploring cryptocurrencies for its payment services. So they're seeking a business.
No, I think they've been exploring it. They've been.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's nothing new, but it's kind of good to see it kind of being bantered around there publicly, that they're looking for a biz dev manager with 5+ years. We don't want someone 10 years. Yeah, just a little bit of time. 5 years. Well, if we can't, then we'll take 2 years if we can do it with alternative pay providers such as digital wallets, BNPL, fast payments, blah blah blah. So I think that's a pretty it's a pretty good move. I'm glad to hear it. But again, when you and I have talked a lot about like what is Google and what is Apple doing? This whole world has taken off. And they're like, why are they so slow on the draw? I would have expected both of them hand over fist, at least start acquiring exchanges, technology, putting wallets on their phones. You have Google, they have a phone, you have Apple, they have Android, you have iPhone. And I'm like, it's like we're like 11 years in this experience. They don't need to, but it's kind of like if you don't, somebody else will. And maybe that's what they're waiting for. Well, I'm just saying, there's plenty of other things they could acquire. If you look at the AI stuff, both of them have acquired companies and startups. They didn't start off building it, but they ended up, instead of building it, they ended up buying it first. So it's kind of a.
Amazon just bought MGM today for $6.5 billion. So, Amazon's big focus is.
Wasn't it more than that? I thought it was like 8 point something.
Yeah, it was something, I don't know, $1 billion here, $1 billion there.
I'm trying to find out what that was. I kept seeing that, but like, what do they get with that? I don't know.
They get a big lion.
Oh, roar. Yeah, they get the big roaring lion. So, it's kind of funny. You remember, Jeff, there was a time we were supposed to, John McAfee, we were supposed to interview him, and then like he didn't show up, and then like, well, every once in a while, you could just show where he used to be. He used to be a really sound thinker. He put this out. Yeah, he put this out 2 years ago. He said, 3 years ago, I predicted a war between governments and crypto. The Fed now calls crypto a threat to economic stability. China's outlawing. The war is on, and I'm a major target. Do not be afraid. Crypto is our last hope for financial independence. And he put out this video. This is the video he made in 2018.
I'd like to talk about the war that we're all engaged in, whether you see it as a war or not. It is, in fact, a war. Banks have declared war on us by denying us the ability to use credit cards to purchase crypto. The government has declared war on us. The SEC is trying to abscond with crypto as
From 2018, Jeff. This is almost 3 years ago that he did this. It's so on point.
if it were securities, which it is not. We're in war. What can you do? What can we do? Take action. Write your congressman. It sounds silly. But while they are still in power, make the bastards work.
Jeff, he's making so much sense here. I'm like, am I gone Looney Tunes, or is John McAfee landing some brilliant points here?
Crypto Kane says that dude was and is off his rocker.
Yeah, he's making a hell of a lot of sense right here. You guys, the Crypto King, you tell me if you disagree with anything he's saying yet. He says, I know it sounds silly, but write your congressman. Right. They have the ability to make it happen.
That was, 3 years ago.
Into your bank and demand that they allow you to take fiat currency from your crypto accounts and deposit in the bank. If they say no, say, can you recommend a bank that...
See, the new John would say, F you. But the old one was like, well, can you recommend one that could? And see, he said, it's like, that's the old John McAfee. The new one's like, F you, right?
would demand the credit card companies accept payment for crypto. Believe me, they're still in business. If people start abandoning writing letters, walking into banks, and more importantly, writing the Security and Exchange Commission and demand that they leave us alone, because we are not a security. We are coins, we are currency. They are frightened of us. Please do something. Thank you.
And good find on that one, because that's a powerful statement. Anybody comes out and makes that statement 3 years ago, knew what was happening, knew how it was going to unfold. And at that time, Chip, 3 years ago, we saw the banks were directly attacking people and cutting them off and saying, nope, we're not going to allow you to send your money to that exchange. I'm like, well, wait a minute. My money, I can do what I want with it. There was some discussion over whether or not they would allow you to use a credit card. Credit card, I understood, because people could then run off their credit card to the max limit, right? And then default on the bank. And the issuing bank is like, well, wait a minute. I didn't give you a credit card so you can go out, and trade currency or buy stock or do anything speculative with it. I gave you that credit card to buy and return money, and that's it. So they can have some sort of a say with whether what you're going to use with the credit that they're issuing to an extent. I don't want to be overreaching, but even
the
that
government does that, Jeff.
right,
It's
even
the government's job.
But but from the bank's perspective, it's a private entity. They make decisions like that. So but the problem was they were saying you can't send it ACH, you can't do anything. That's money bag saying it's not your money after deposit, which is part of the problem too. Look at that. Think about that, Chip. You put your money in the bank and there's a run on banks. What do? They shut the bank down. You have no access to your money.
Yeah, and Jeff and I came across something kind of funny. I think we should play I think this is a great way to kind of wrap stuff up, because this is sometimes you got to laugh at the scenario. And I think the OTC family will really enjoy this.
My name's Josh, and I'm the man who bought the top of every single stock chart.
That's weird, because I thought that his name was Chip. I could have been wrong here, but his name is Josh, and he brought the top, right? So
Come on, looks like another red day.
Yeah, Josh quit his real job that makes money to spend more time on his fake job that loses money.
I think I got an insider tip here from Dave Portnoy's Twitter.
You have an insider tip. The info got to you, Josh, before Goldman.
I love. I got the Josh for I love
got
that.
insider tip. It's on Twitter.
Nobody else saw this insider tip. Hey, before we continue that, I just want to give a shout out to everybody that's here. If you are brand new to On the Chain, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notifier to get notified when we do stream live. And we stream live 6 days a week. So if you're brand new, we are streaming Sunday through Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go ahead, Chip.
Yeah, the best way you can help us is to share this video. Share it on Twitter. Share it on social media. Facebook, if that's still a thing, share it wherever. Share it with your friends, and that's the best way you can help us and sort of get the word out about what we're doing on this channel.
Sachs.
I bought into GameStop a couple days after it became a national news story, and I thought to myself, yeah, this has got to go higher. Just waited for the smart money to get in, bought here. Then when it's just about to hit the bottom, I can't take it anymore. Rice paper hands, and that's my sell point.
You have day trader in your bio now?
Then it usually starts to go up again. Second dose of FOMO hits. I'm not going to miss it this time. Enjoy the second ride down and sell the bags.
Josh seems to have the magical ability to predict a stock crash based on when he buys it.
For me, it wasn't really about the money. It was about sticking it to the big guys by letting other big guys take my money.
I mean,
This is so good, dude. It's so good.
Hilarious.
it should be a little bit about making money.
Well, you pay for your hobby of doing yoga. What's the difference?
Yeah, I didn't take a mortgage out on our house to do yoga.
Once a meme cycle reaches its full conclusion, that's generally when I ape the fuck in. Not financial advice.
Yeah, it definitely is not financial advice.
I sort of teach the whales a lesson by buying their shares. Dogecoin I actually bought hours before Elon Musk's SNL appearance and then sold the day after at a 30% loss. Yeah, I guess you could say that I dodged making coin on that one. But I did learn a valuable lesson that day, which is I should be basing my entire trading strategy on Elon Musk's tweets.
Are you just refreshing Elon Musk's Twitter?
Wait for him to tweet something, and then once everyone else is done buying, I jump in the game, wait for him to tweet something contradictory, sell again at a loss.
He cashed out our mutual funds.
Just recently I repeated that process with Bitcoin, and that's when I actually got in on the ground floor of May 2021. I guess you could say I lost a bit of coin on that one.
This isn't funny. At least before crypto, the losses ended at 4 p.m. Now he's up till 3 a.m. losing money.
I still remember my first trade ever, Canopy Growth, June 19th, 2019.
Don't get me started on the weed stocks.
Guess you could say I got smoked on that trade. Took a bit of a bong hit out of my savings. Definitely in the red on that green.
I'm glad you're enjoying yourself because we're in a ton of debt right now. His friends call him the bubble popper behind his back.
Hey, I think I might have a solution to some of our financial problems because I just found a site that'll let me trade crypto on margin.
No fucking way. Hey, Warren Buffett, here's your beanie babies.
Yeah, serious shout out. This is that's some really good stuff right there, man.
That's funny. I love that.
Yeah, that was good. It's like sometimes when things are burning down, you really just have to laugh, and they brought that pretty hardcore, so that was pretty good. Really enjoy it. And you can also buy some merch. You go to onthechain.merch. Throw it in the chat here. Onthechain.mer. No, it's onthechain.shop. Sorry, Jeff. You see?
On
Chain.shop. So that's all we have, man. I mean, listen, so I have had a lot of family stuff going on this week. I will have another family thing going on tomorrow. So I will not be here. Jeff will be here in the pilot's chair, commanding and just, crushing it as usual. So I will be back on Sunday night. Jeff will be back tomorrow night and on Saturday morning at 8 a.m. That's all I have. What do you have, Jeff? Anything?
That's it. Just want to say appreciate everybody for being here with us again tonight, spending your evenings with us on the chain. On the chain. And we'll check you guys out on the next one.
Take care, guys.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.